What is happening, everyone? Just going to walk through a bit of a weekly outlook coming into this week. As you can see, I'm all prepared. I've got it all ready. Last week ended up being a pretty good week. I would say I actually fumbled last week. I ended up probably 0.5% up. No trades for me ran further than a 1 to 3. There was a couple of mismanaged trades and a couple of missed trades. So last week was a tough one, but we've just got to get back into it, look at this week and kind of go from there. So as we can see on EURUSD at the moment, this is what I'm kind of expecting. So there's a couple of things that kind of contradict each other at the moment. So this really is our daily range, okay? Now, only reason I'm not going to use this as my main forward bit of momentum is 1, the imbalance that sits below this point that we're currently in. 2, the liquidity here and the equal lows, and then 3, this inducement, which was of a daily supply. So I kind of want to follow this inducement until it tells me that it's not the case. Now, to end last week, we did actually come into this inducement here. It was a really nice sell that I believe will run and take the lows in here, has a high probability of doing so. That sell was pretty much at the top of this mid-London session. So if we follow the inducements, we've kind of got really, really good mitigations. We've got a really good inducement into mitigation here, and we don't really have a lot of points or anything that holds weight in here. Now, this area here is somewhat a supply to demand that sits internally in here. So I'm expecting this to give a reaction of some sorts, but given the current momentum of the market, where the liquidity is and what's being built up, as well as this imbalance, I believe that this point has a higher chance of actually being some type of trap. So for me, I want to target that. So this is my 4-hour leg that I've marked out in green here. This is the momentum I'm currently trying to follow. And looking to just kind of bounce off this. So we have an internal break here with, like I said, a supply to demand that sits in here. I'm aiming for that coming into today. So if I jump down straight down to the 15-minute time frame, we can kind of have a look what the go is internally in here. This was the area of the trade yesterday. We had an internal break, a really, really good sweep of liquidity, and then trading off of that. And I believe at this point has a high chance, like I said, of coming down to this area in here, which is that supply to demand necessarily that sits in here. So either one of these two is the immediate target for Monday, Tuesday. Now we are sitting in this area, which I believe we tried to sell through last week. I caught a break even in here trying to sell through that. I believe that this area is going to be taken. So what I'm kind of looking for today, like I said, we're at the start of like Asia session. It's the start of the day. We've got ages before London even opens, like 7 hours. Like I said, nice and early and ahead of schedule today. I'm aiming to just sell through these equal lows. So if we kind of read internal price action here, we've got this area of supply that's been mitigated. The next area, what I would kind of say is this here. So this area here is more or less what I want price to come into today. It'll give us a really, really good inducement, which is this one here. So if we can induce this bit of liquidity, get Asia session to kind of slowly work its way up like this, induce into this area, whether that's this high or this high, either or I'm open, and then kind of go from there. And like normal, I'll update you guys as we come closer towards the session anyway, depending on what Asia session does. But I'm more than likely expecting this to build up liquidity. Now, if this does decide to fall off in the way that it's going here, I actually see this as a really good area of liquidity to target to get that move that I was explaining on the 4-hour. So there's multiple ways to look at today. They're kind of the two options I'm seeing. I'm happy to work with both of those. So really straightforward on EU. Now over to GU, I'm more or less seeing the same thing. Only thing with GU is we've got a bit of contradiction as well. So realistically, this is our 4-hour time frame leg or our daily, either or, however you look at it. And because we never came and took this low, we're still bullish externally. Okay. Now, the only reason I'm happy to quite happy to come and target these is they're more or less relatively equal lows. So I'll mark that out. I want to come and take that liquidity. Okay, so just like EU, there's a lot of liquidity below. We are inducing higher to push lower. If we read those inducements, we've got inducement here, which did come into a daily supply. And then you've got obviously this inducement into that area. Furthermore, you've got this inducement into that area here. So I kind of want that fall off from there. Now, this does have the potential to come and take this high before it sells off. So just keep that in mind. But given what it's kind of doing now, we're not in an area that makes sense for it to push itself back up yet. We've taken a little bit of liquidity, so it may give us that. That is something that definitely can happen. But until that happens, I'm just going to focus on selling and continuing with this internal leg in here. So if we jump down to the 15-minute, it's more or less the same type of story of what was going on. We induced into this point here, which is a very, very valid point. And then we had a sell that I missed on Friday as well. So Friday was a bad day for me. Missed this sell, which fit all of my rules. I just wasn't watching good enough, I guess. Really, really good sell in here, which kind of fell off. And now we're kind of looking to trade back out of this area. So there's multiple ways to approach this. We've got this break. We've got this area of demand that sits necessarily in here. We've got this area here. For me, this doesn't really hold any weight. I believe this will come and get taken. So what I'm actually going to do is we have reacted in this area at the moment. We've taken Asia lows. I'm going to mark this entire area out as a trap. I just don't think it'll hold. It can. It's a valid demand. It is a supply to demand as well. It racked off of this area and did take a little bit of liquidity. I just think given now we've got bearish confirmations. If we read, we've got break, take of liquidity, we've got our second leg, we've now confirmed retracement, whether that's to continue with our 4-hour selling leg or this is a complex pullback to come and take liquidity to then continue higher. So they're the two options like I explained on that higher time frame. So what I'm kind of seeing at the moment is we've reacted in this area of supply here. So if you're an Asian session trader, I think trading out of here makes perfect sense, especially given that we've actually induced into the here. So we've taken a bit of 15-minute retest into this area of liquidity, into this area of supply, sorry. Makes sense to come and get that. You may actually get one more inducement that then falls off to build up that liquidity. Really, really straightforward and simple in terms of order flow. Now, so what I'm kind of looking for is coming into today, given where we're positioned, like I said, it'll make a lot more sense as Asia session builds and we get closer to the session. But what I'm seeing at the moment is if this area is a trap, this area is a trap. So what I'm kind of expecting Asia session to do is work its way down, use this area as a trap, induce into the mitigation to then sell through something like that, building that liquidity. So that's my main approach today and what I want. If price decides to push itself up, like I said, when it can, I'm happy to sell off of here, I'm happy to sell in here, and I'm happy to sell off of here. Either or. Once we kind of push through this point, it's looking like we're going to come and target this. So if that happens, if we do push through here, buys will be the higher potential play. At the moment, sells are, but if it pushes through here, it's showing us that it's targeting that next bit of liquidity. For me, buys will be the higher probable approach, but at the moment sells are, so until that happens, I'm going to keep selling. Like I said, come and take any of that liquidity, happy to sell. If price wants to push itself down and kind of do this, I am happy to short-term buy off of this, short-term buy off of this, just understanding that sells are the higher time frame play at the moment, that buys will be short-lived. So any sells I get in, I will be targeting external structure. As for buys, I will be targeting internal structure, more or less taking 1 to 3, and there'll be no partials taken. It'll be full take profits, whereas sells will be the opposite. I do like coming to take here. We've got a fair bit of imbalance sitting in here. We've got this really nice point here, which is retest of that. And then we can kind of work off of that. So they're the two approaches for today. Like I said, I'll update you guys in the Telegram as we get closer. Now, if we have a look at the other pairs, I haven't marked out USDCAD or gold yet. On the 4-hour, we've taken that swing target, which I was after. We've confirmed bullish, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. I can remove all of the predictions we had. Like I said, we were coming for this here. That's more or less been treated as a break of structure now, but I'll just mark it out as a line like that. It's just dropped down to a time frame. So let me make it so I can see it on the higher time frame as well. Cool. All right, so we've come into here. Not really anything to do with in here. Pushed up again, built liquidity. We've then induced into the mitigation of this area here and broken. So we've had, if we jump down to the 15-minute, we've had a confirmed retracement. We've got high, low, high, low. So we've confirmed a retracement. In terms of areas we're coming to, sells are on. As you can see, this is a clear complex pullback, so it wants to buy. Buys are the high time frame play, which lines up with EU and GE being sells. So where I would kind of want to buy from, we've got this point here, which we've more or less come into. Buys make sense now. Not really a lot in here, equal low. So realistically, the moment we can get any type of 15-minute structure that makes sense for buys to now be the case, buys are the go, okay? Targeting this liquidity here, you can tell by how slow we're moving to the downside. This is just generating liquidity for us to buy into. We've got momentum and all those other things on our side. If we jump onto a higher time frame, as you can see, clearly bullish. Okay, so we want to follow with that, which it's giving us right now. So if we look out of here, internal break of structure, we'll see what it does here. Buys off of the take of this low makes sense. Continuation buys, or even using this as a trap to then buy through, also makes sense. So like I said, I'll update you guys as we get closer to the session anyway, but that's kind of the higher time frame outlook on USDCAD at the moment. When it hasn't given you a lot of structure like this, this is kind of all you can do. Now gold, I believe, is just making all-time highs again. For me, there's just nothing to do with gold. If we jump down to the 15-minute, we haven't confirmed a retracement yet because we haven't taken 15-minute liquidity. In terms of coming into valid points for me to look at, realistically, I would want to... That area is kind of an area of demand. This entire area here is an area of demand. So you can kind of buy it on gold now. You've got your internal break. If this makes a low here, so if this now pulls below here, I want to be targeting this, necessarily be targeting this, realistically, target this low with the equal lows. Sitting here. Oh no, that's taking liquidity. So realistically, if we now break this low, I would want to be coming and targeting this on gold internally here. So break this low, sells make more sense, but you can short-term buy to get that there. But we could get a bit of a sell-off. But buys are the higher time frame play here. You don't want to force anything. So until 15-minute structure is confirmed bearish, which it hasn't, we haven't had any type of bearish structure in my opinion anyway. Realistically, that's your first break. So I need another break after a take of liquidity. Like I said, come and take this low here. Retracement buys, sells to this area of magnetized price here, and go from there. So any question, chuck them in the comments. The Telegram is open for discussion as well, so you guys can comment on things I send in. Let's have ourselves a good week. We've got really good price, really good things to deal with. I believe it's a slow news week, so there's only news towards the end of the week, which means I'm expecting for it to be a slow day today. Other than that, let's like I said, let's have a good week, and I'll see you guys all in the Telegram.